With the introduction of Tangle and Whisper into Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Sega is finally officially canonizing the IDW Sonic Comics, and it has the community divided. On one hand, fans of the comics are jumping with joy at the arrival, while another side couldn't be more upset about their inclusion. But dear listener, today I'm here to ease those worries and help you understand exactly why this is a good thing. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? The Sonic IDW comics were created as a result of Archie losing the license to Sonic. Archie Sonic was plagued with a plethora of issues that would eventually cause the license to be pulled after 24 years of publishing. After the Archie debacle, Sega wanted to start a brand new, fresh comic series for the Blue Blur. But this time, instead of being a separate universe, these comics would be released as canon in conjunction with the games. The first issue of IDW Sonic picks up right after the events of Sonic Forces. After the evil Dr. Eggman was defeated in the war, it was as though he had vanished. Alas, his robot army was still mindlessly terrorizing civilians, even without their master at the helm. With the help of his friends in the Resistance, Sonic goes from town to town, taking out badniks and saving everyone he can. Eventually, Sonic makes his way to Spiral Hill, where he runs into Tangle the Lemur, already fighting and holding back the endless waves of badniks. Sonic teams up with his newfound ally to defend against the horde, but eventually end up overwhelmed with the sheer volume, and just as they are backed into a corner, Blaze the cat swoops in and burns all the badniks to a crisp. Soon after, Tangle then uses her super stretchy tail to launch Sonic and Blaze up to the airship that's dropping the badniks from the sky. Using their combined strength, they take down the ship and save the town. In the aftermath of the battle, Tangle brings up the fact that the badniks have been getting more organized. But without Dr. Eggman in charge, who could be the one pulling the strings behind the scenes? Blaze and Tangle then say their goodbyes, and the Blue Blur takes a quick breather before jetting off to where he's needed next. The next time we see Sonic, he's with Espio of the Chaotix Detective Agency, headed to a village where Dr. Eggman was spotted. But when they get there, everything seems fine. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing destroyed. Could Eggman really be here? And as it turns out, no. Eggman isn't here, but a joyous, somewhat dopey man that calls himself Mr. Tinker. It seems as though Ivo Robotnik is no longer there. All memories of before the war have been lost, and he is now just a humble handyman. After learning more about the situation, Sonic and the Chaotix decide it would be good to let him remain in the village as Mr. Tinker. But that's when someone less forgiving shows up. Shadow the Hedgehog. He and Sonic end up in a scuffle, racing across the entire mountain. Sonic brings up moments from the past where Eggman helped them out, making the point that there's always room for a person to change. But Shadow isn't having any of it and pins him against a tree, but that's when Sonic brings up the fact that Shadow was once just like Eggman was, and he backs off. After learning Eggman no longer poses a threat, Shadow, Sonic, and the Chaotix say their goodbyes to the once evil tyrant and leave him in the village to live his new life. Later, we see Sonic and Tails on the Tornado prepared to board the Egg Fleet. Once inside, Sonic comes face to face with Dr. Eggman. Sonic immediately points him out as a faker, and the person behind the disguise finally reveals himself to be Neo Metal Sonic. Ever since the end of the war, he's been masquerading as Eggman in his place so that he may find the Doctor and return him to his throne. Sonic attempts to take Metal down, but dealing with him alone proves to be too tall a task for the Hedgehog, so for now, he retreats. Sonic and Tails regroup with their friends back at Resistance HQ, but while they believe they have the upper hand, Neo Metal makes his way towards a certain floating island that houses the Master Emerald. We then cut to Sonic and Silver the Hedgehog raiding an Eggman base. Weirdly enough, it seems like someone else is there helping them get through. Silver theorizes that it could be the legendary guardian angel that helped them win the war from the shadows, and that's when they finally run into her. Startled, she tries to get away, and Sonic has to calm Silver down, explaining that she obviously prefers to work alone. From behind the angel, a group of wisps come blasting out in excitement towards Sonic, recognizing him as the hero that once saved their planet. The angel lets her guard down and introduces herself as Whisper, although Silver just assumed she was giving him an order. The three of them together then move into the final room of the base and take on the final boss.
Rocket! Ice Hammer! Laser!
Silver the Sweetheart helps Whisper back up to her feet, and she goes to destroy the computer before being interjected by Sonic. She understands why, but seems dejected about something. Silver gets into the computer and finds out what Neo Metal has been up to, and quickly calls back to the Resistance. The battle for Angel Island is upon us. Back at Resistance HQ, all the heroes have gathered together to come up with a plan on how to take out Neo Metal Sonic. On the way to Angel Island, Neo Metal launches a preemptive strike, causing the ship to stall. Sonic and Knuckles descend using their extreme gear, while Blaze activates the power of the Soul Emeralds, transforming into Burning Blaze. The rest of the squad narrowly make it off the ship before it crashes into the Egg Fleet.
Laser!
Sonic and Knuckles make their way to the Master Emerald and finally confront Neo Metal Sonic. Standing atop the Master Emerald, Neo Metal then unleashes the power of chaos, transforming into Super Neo Metal Sonic. He wastes no time and blitzes through both Sonic and Knuckles, leaving them tattered on the ground. While the battle rages on, back in Windmill Village, we see Mr. Tinker singing the children of the village a song. That's when two prior lackeys walk in and kidnap the now reformed Dr. Eggman. Back on Angel Island, with the help of Silver, Tails manages to take control of one of the ships in the Egg Fleet. While the rest of them land on the next ship, Amy and Rouge try to figure out where Shadow could have gone. Back to the fight with Metal, both Sonic and Knuckles are barely holding their own against the super-powered mech when Shadow speeds out from the shadows, stabbing a spear of pure chaos energy into Neo Metal's core, knocking him out of his super form. But unfortunately, it seems Shadow walks straight into his trap as he copies both his and Sonic's biodata. Using this new data, he combines it with the power of the Master Emerald to transform into the Master Overlord. Without the power of the Master Emerald, Angel Island begins to fall. Burning Blaze is all out of power, and without the Chaos Emerald, Supersonic won't be saving the day either. Back at Eggman's lair, Mr. Tinker has been strapped down when a mysterious figure calling himself Dr. Starline appears. Using a device he crafted, he intends to jog Eggman's memories and bring him back to his former glory. Using his wit, Sonic distracts Metal long enough so the rest of his team can join the fight. And with the Master Emerald back in its rightful place and Metal Sonic offline, it seems like the world is finally free of the Eggman Empire. Unless...
He's back! He's back!
Or actually, no, it seems like the shock therapy didn't work. He's still just plain old Mr. Tinker. But that's when a beaten, tattered up Metal Sonic comes stumbling in the door, and all the memories of his past come flooding back in, and now the Doctor truly is back. Starline catches Eggman up on everything that's happened since he's been gone. He explains to the Doctor how he used the Warp Topaz in his possession to bring him back to the base. Eggman wants nothing to do with his new magic stone, so that's when Starline brings him something he's a little more familiar with. All 7 of the Chaos Emeralds. Back on Angel Island, we see everything return back to normal, with Sonic running around, checking in on all his friends. Knuckles decides to stay on Angel Island and disbands the Resistance. Amy isn't too happy about that, and the Chaotix are waiting for their payday. And I really like the moment between Tangle and Whisper here. Just a quick glimpse into the relationship that's soon to blossom between them. Blaze decides it's time she returned to her own dimension, while Silver stays with us for now due to a superstition. Rouge is simply enjoying her day sun tanning, and with that, Sonic and Tails sail off into the sunset on the stolen egg ship. Back at the lab, Dr. Eggman is already hatching his new plot of revenge against the blue rodent, the Metal Virus. And that brings us to a close for the Neo Metal saga. That is just the very beginning of IDW Sonic the Hedgehog storyline. I really love just how good the story and character writing is for this series. Couple that with just how beautiful the art is, and you get a grade A comic run. Along with that, these comics introduce plenty of new and unique characters. Just with this initial 3-issue arc, we have the introduction of Dr. Starline, an Eggman fanatic that soon becomes a major villain. And on the hero side, we have none other than Tangle and Whisper, who got so popular they soon got their own comic. Not too long after the battle with Neo Metal, we find ourselves in Spiral Hill, where Tangle the Lemur resides. After all the crazy things she's done since she met Sonic, she just can't wait to get out there and go on another adventure. That's when Sonic himself comes running through her town, but it seems like he's under attack from Whisper? Sonic's acting pretty weird, trying to get away from her. He even uses a civilian as cover so Whisper doesn't shoot at him. When Tangle finally catches up, he explains to her how Eggman put a mind control chip in Whisper's mask. Then Tangle leaves to go stop Whisper, and we see this. Before Whisper takes the shot, Tangle comes up from behind and tackles her to the ground and wrestles the mask away from her. Whisper begrudgingly explains to Tangle that her mask has not been tampered with, and the person she was chasing was not Sonic the Hedgehog. Whisper then shows Tangle footage of the imposter Sonic making an attempt on her life. Back in the museum, Whisper explains that the person she's after is a mercenary named Mimic who can take the shape of anyone. Tangle decides that this is the moment she's been waiting for. She's finally gonna get out there and help her friend. Then Whisper declines. And for some reason, it seems like she really doesn't want Tangle's help with this. But even Whisper's wisps want Tangle to join them, so eventually she gives in. Then Mimic bangs on their door, leaving them a message. So they set off to find him. When they arrive at the bunker, Whisper scouts the place out, but Tangle doesn't seem to be taking it too seriously. She suggests just walking in, with Whisper noting it's probably a trap. Tangle tells her that they'll just be careful, so relax, but Whisper can't relax. These two have a history. The two make their way into the bunker. Trying to be sneaky, Tangle splits up from Whisper, but that's when she hears the cry of her best friend Jewel, who she left back at Spiral Hill. She runs after her, meeting back with Whisper along the way, and the two go to save her. They get to a safe that seems unguarded, and Whisper has Tangle check it out. But something isn't right. Whisper wasn't whispering. Tangle is now trapped in the safe. Disguising himself as Tangle, Mimic lures Whisper into a room with a giant egg bot.
Spike! Rocket! Hover! Laser!
She then gets Mimic down on the ground and demands to know where Tangle is. That's when Mimic starts to transform into other people, taunting her, and Whisper is absolutely mortified at the sight. Regaining her composure, she slams her hammer into him before he reveals he planted explosives around Tangle. She runs off trying to find her, allowing Mimic to escape. She finds and rescues Tangle, but not before the bombs start to go off. With some quick thinking, Tangle shoves Whisper and herself back into the safe, and they barely make it out alive. And I'll just let this scene speak for itself. Whisper explains how she was part of a 5-person team called the Diamond Cutters, an anti-Eggman mercenary team that took on the most dangerous missions. She shows Tangle some old footage she has of them working together back in their glory days and even starts to reminisce a little. Tangle wonders what happened to them, but Whisper can't bring herself to tell her. So Tangle suggests seeing the rest of the footage, and with some convincing by the Wisps, she allows it. So, we see the Diamond Cutters planning out their next mission. Claire tells Whisper she has a bad feeling about this mission and tells her to hang back, even though Mimic said he needed everyone on the ground for it. Once they get there, everything just goes a little too smoothly. It seems like Eggman might be ready for them. Mimic disguises himself as an Eggbot to scout around, and the three of them find what Eggman's been working on: an army of metal shadow. They all simultaneously come online, and the door slams shut behind them, leaving them trapped there with no way out. We then cut to Mimic's playback, and we see him in the presence of Dr. Eggman himself. Mimic sold out his team to the Eggman Empire, getting them all killed. Tangle couldn't be more pissed off after learning this information and asks Whisper why she would hold on to this footage, in which she responds, "Never forget, never forgive." Such a sweet moment between the two. They then leave a message for Mimic to find when he returns, and they take off. We see them next at the former base of the Diamond Cutters. Eggman sends a whole fleet after them, but Whisper has no problem taking them out on her own, so Tangle leaves to enact their plan. Inside the base, Tangle runs into Mimic disguised as Sonic again, with Tangle pretending like she's falling for it, leading him right to the trap she has set up. He doesn't understand how this random room could be a trap when Tangle activates the masks of his former team members, creating a holographic projection. He explains to Tangle how his teammates were just disposable pawns to him. Tangle attacks him, but he transforms into Jewel, causing her to hesitate. He gets the upper hand on her, but she regains the advantage with her tail, knocking him down. They continue to brawl, and just as he's about to stab Tangle, Whisper rushes in. And by the end, Tangle has him strapped down, and Whisper aims her Wisp-On right at his head, ready to take the final shot. But Tangle jumps in the way, convincing her not to make a mistake that she will live to regret, and reluctantly, she backs down. Instead, they decide to bring him to Tails' place to keep him confined, and Tangle can't help but taunt him. And that brings us to the end of this beautiful story. For now, the two part ways, but it is not the end for this dynamic duo. I personally don't understand the perspective of people that don't like these comics. To me, it really just feels like the people that don't like it just hate on it for the sake of hating something. It's fine to not like it, but I feel like most arguments against it are pretty half-baked. As far as I can tell, most arguments against it are just from bitter Archie Sonic fans that are mad their series got ended. Which on its own is fair to be upset about, but to push that anger and hatred onto this new series is nothing short of childish. And don't even get me started on Sonic Twitter fans. Those guys are never happy about anything. I don't think they actually even like Sonic. Another reason people don't like IDW is because of Ian Flynn, who is now the main writer for not only the comics but the games as well, starting with Sonic Frontiers. But it's so weird to me because Ian Flynn has been working on Sonic since 2006 when he was working on the Archie comics. So I guess these same people must have a problem with the way he was writing the Archie comics, right? I'd bet not. But regardless, Ian Flynn is now the main writer for the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise as a whole, and he wrote the script for Sonic Frontiers, which in terms of story and characterization is miles better than any of the previous Sonic games we'd been getting for quite some time. And since the IDW comics were made to be canon with the games, Ian decided to put this little line in it.
I bet Tangle would love climbing around these ruins.
That line was the very first mention of any comic-only character we'd ever gotten in the games, and was the first step into truly canonizing them. A few years later, Sonic Racing Crossworlds comes out, and on November 11th, Sega drops a trailer for some new DLC characters that they're gonna be releasing. And you know, it starts out pretty normal. You have Knight, you have II, and those are pretty normal to see. But then you see... And this came as a total shock to me. I was just eating breakfast one morning when I saw this trailer, and it had me like, no way. I couldn't believe that they were actually going to be added. I was always under the assumption that the comics were canon, but it was the kind of canon that doesn't really affect the games too much. But no, here Sega was, disproving me and many others. But don't get me wrong, I was very excited about their inclusion. It was very happy that I was wrong, because I love these characters. Only a few months after that, we get the Chaotix case files, and it was announced that Episode 3 would feature none other than Tangle and Whisper, fully voiced.
But forgive me, you're going to set up a perimeter with just the three of you?
Nope! It'll be the five of us!
Silhouetted in the doorway were two girls I'd recognize anywhere. A tall, bubbly gray and white lemur with a long, striped, fluffy tail, and a brown and tan wolf with a high-tech mask and a prototype Wisp-On that looked like something out of a sci-fi flick.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for calling! We're always happy to help, especially when something's going down here in our own backyard. Isn't that right, Whisper? Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't believe I've had the pleasure.
Mr. Kitsch, this is Tangle the Lemur and Whisper the Wolf.
Whisper, you say? I assume you're named after your particular way of speaking?
You could say that.
Sorry, what was that?
She said you could say that! Anyway, Tangle Tangle and Whisper are friends of Jules, and they're both officially
Canon! This was it. They'd finally been fully integrated into the Sonic the Hedgehog canon. And man, I just had a big smile across my face the whole time I was listening to this. I couldn't be happier about it. Not only that, but their voice actors perfectly fit their characters. They killed it. Then a few weeks later, Tangle and Whisper release as DLC characters in Crossworlds, and we get a full Tales Tube episode dedicated to them. Which then just leaves me with one question. Where are their in-game voice lines, Sega? Look, I know they don't give voices to the DLC characters, but how are you gonna announce brand new voice actors and then just have them be silent when they release? It's honestly a little disappointing, but regardless, this is still something I'm very happy about. Now, with how things have been going recently, my biggest hope is that they make an appearance in some form in the next mainline Sonic title. But disregarding IDW for a moment, I want to talk about the Sonic franchise as a whole, because the Sonic franchise has just been in a major slump with bad release after bad release. But to me, it feels like this franchise has really turned over a new leaf. After the release of Sonic Frontiers, Sonic has just been on a slow and steady climb back into the limelight. So many good things have happened since then, and I'm really hoping we can keep this forward momentum into the next game. I think if this next mainline Sonic game is a hit, it could genuinely boost Sonic back into the mainstream, and he could retake his place as one of gaming's biggest icons. They have to knock it out of the park with this next release. We don't want to end up in another Dark Age. But that pretty much wraps up everything I have to say. At the end of the day, I just want Sonic to thrive, and along with the IDW comics, I think the franchise can do just that. If y'all would like to see me do a dedicated video on the Metal Virus arc, let me know down in the comments. If enough people ask about it, then I'll do it. But make sure you subscribe so you can be notified when that video goes live. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and have a great day.